we're going to go through our segment of the week. And our segment is brought to you by the Havana Cigar Club. New to their humidor is some offerings from Illusione. They got the Epernay and the Petite Corona and Petite Lancero sizes. And they also got the Rothschilds in there. On March 18th, they have Cigar Hold'em, and on March 25th and April 1st, they have the High-Low Jack League. So check out Havana's Cigar Club, and don't forget there's a $5 off coupon on the Stogie Geeks and Cigar Coop websites. So, we alluded to it prior to, throughout the show, segments on Candelas this week. And I mentioned, why I smoke Candelas. With St. Patrick's Day, you start to see the Candela releases either come out, get re-released, or maybe there's some more shipments coming. And we take the attitude on Stogie Geeks, we smoke everything. So, am I going to say a Candela is my all-time favorite cigar? No, but there's some good ones out there, and they're different. So they're green. So a little first off, they're green. I kind of like them when they're that Kermit the Frog green.
I like how Will said that with his New York accent. He's like, they're freaking green. What are you gonna do about it? Huh?
The Kermit the Frog color.
The Kermit the Frog color, yeah. I like them when they're that Kermit the Frog color. But you see different shades of them. Like if you, I'll talk about a few. But if you put them in your humidor for a while, they'll start to get brown. They'll actually start to brown if they're in your humidor for a while. So you'll see they'll lose that Kermit the Frog green. But a little background on Candela. It's actually the official name of the cigar is the Double Claro. I'm going to butcher that one. And we're going to put some good links in the show notes for folks. But from what I understand, these the leaves, in order to get them, what they do is they're green because they're able to keep the chlorophyll level in the leaf to produce that green color. And they actually use a process called fluke curing. And Gabriel, if you know anything, you could chime in on this too. But from what I understand, is there's a large amount of heat that's for about 5 to 7 days that they're able to do that with through a process called fluke curing, which is typically not used on cigars but other types of tobacco. And I think, and from what I heard, it's supposedly that process also maintains a lot of sweetness in it. In terms of Candela, it was once a very, very popular cigar in this country. And from what I understand, they sold quite a bit of them. I believe this is going back pre-boom.
70s,
yeah. And they kind of fell out of favor at some point there. There was some point where I think it kind of fell off the radar there. And then probably was the late 90s, they started surfacing up again. Now, there was a good article in, which we're going to put in the show notes, from Cigar Aficionado. And I didn't notice, and maybe I completely missed it, but apparently I didn't realize La Gloria Cubana, when Ernesto Perez Carrillo was with La Gloria Cubana, he was making Candela versions of some of his La Gloria line, in the Wavell, the Churchill, and the Corona Gordas. I did not know that. But he was doing that
years ago.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Years ago. Gosh, that's right. Look at Ernie doing what he does.
Yeah, so, and then the other thing that was interesting was they surveyed how many cigar enthusiasts had smoked a Candela cigar, and it was pretty high. It was 45.5%. So at some point they had it, and they said, as a result of that, the opinions are mixed, and I think that's the general consensus on Candela. Is I think it's a mixed cigar. It's definitely not for everybody. You guys have anything you want to add on that?
Well, I mean, yeah, we could get going and talking about chlorophyll, which is it's a green pigment found in the cyanobacteria. I googled that afterwards. No, I mean, it's Candelas are this. Gosh, I mean, you speak to some of these really old smokers. They talk about the days of when they were smoking Candelas, and Fuente's been making Candelas with the 898 for a while. It was really big in the United States, and then it dropped off. And I think that's when we started really taking on more the English market selection, which the Punch has with the EMS. We really started going more for that Colorado coloring. and then Candelas went to the wayside. And then, you're right. They kind of came back in the 90s for a little bit. And then, gosh, what was it, 2011? All those crazy boutique guys were like, hey, I'm going to make a cool Candela and I'm going to make it awesome. And then VI did their thing. And I mean, not VI, Illusion. Gosh, starting controversy already with that
And we'll
VI.
make that.
Viaje had the white label project, and La Flor Dominicana came out with the Candela,
No,
and
that's right, they did.
Lucione, they came out with the 888 Candela, and that's actually one that I bought a box of exactly a year ago, almost to the day, as it's when my son was born, my second son actually, and I wanted a cigar to commemorate the birth of my son. And since he took on somewhat of the Irish skin tone from my wife, I decided to go with an Irish themed cigar, and he was born around the time of St. Patrick's Day as well. So I really like that Illusione 888 Candela. They use a Nicaraguan binder and filler, I believe, which there's definitely Nicaraguan in the filler, which gives it that extra punch. I think a lot of what the other, Candela offerings have is, some other Dominican tobaccos and in some, not even the country of origin, but they tend to be a lighter smoke. The Illusione, I mean, he really kind of amped up that blend, and it bounces kind of with those herbal notes. I don't know if you guys I get kind of like an herbal tea kind of flavor from that Candela wrapper. More so than other cigars, largely because it's not fermented, and hasn't picked up a lot of those other flavors, I think. Um, so for me, out of all the Candelas that I've smoked, which have not been that many, right? Probably three or four different brands. I like the Illusione offering the best. Again, now with a little bit of age, they've definitely mellowed out a bit. They're definitely a medium-bodied smoke. It's not something I'd reach for after dinner. Um, but I love that stick.
That's a good cigar. I always get lemongrass notes.
Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that grassy
yeah,
note.
That
grassy herbal. Yep.
I don't know what I'm talking about. I just say that because other people are like lemongrass. Oh, hey man, lemongrass. That sounds good. I'll use that. No, but it's there's that grassy, that hay. It's just that quality to it, which is not. It's. I mean, it's just not fermented and cured the way that all the other tobaccos are. I mean, and even the Illusione VI, that's all Nicaraguan. It's a Nicaraguan wrapper that's probably gone under the Candela process.
Right.
And I've never asked Dion. I wonder if it's Corojo, if it's Criollo. I mean, he uses basically all Aganorsa. I'm still imagining it's Corojo Candela.
Hmm.
So as long as we're on that topic, so I've talked to some people, in terms of it's not, it doesn't have as much fermentation. There's a chlorophyll level, and I've been told, and this is someone I'm not. It's a manufacturer who I know. Seth, you know him too, and he said basically Candela is not a good cigar for you,
It's
and
not
he
a
would
good
get
cigar for you.
in terms of health wise. And it's because of the reasons we just talked about, that it's not fermented as well. It's got the chlorophyll levels. And someone actually, I respect, he says, so, you don't want to smoke a lot of them, is what he said. So I don't know if that's right or wrong. I actually tried Googling it, and I couldn't find anything specific on that, other than, I got that comment from someone.
I mean, let's Google, is tobacco good for you, and see what it's.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what happened. And then I tried doing
I
this
mean,
Candela good. It was. I tried a series of things. Because I did a ton of research for this, and I kind of came up empty. So I can't say if it's good for you or not. But it does lead the question, because it is fermented less, and there is chlorophyll. I don't know, and I don't know if we're talking, point 0.0002 instead of 0.001 or something. So.
Well, I'm
Right.
curious about it, and the reason I bring that up is because I put around 2 cups of spinach in my acai berry smoothie every morning, and that's pretty green. And is that spinach
I don't
bad
think
for
that's
my
the same thing.
is that spinach bad for my smoothie now? Because that's really dark green. I'm
Well,
What?
I'm worried.
it would be
I'm
it would
worried
be
about that
healthier.
chlorophyll.
It might be healthier if you wrap the spinach around your cigars that you smoke when you drink your smoothie in the morning.
I do
That
that
might
when I
be
go
all
for my
better.
runs, Paul. When I go
Yeah,
for my 5K runs in the morning. Thank you.
my 5K runs. Then I light up a cigar.
I smoke when I run. I find
while
that
you run. Yeah.
if you can smoke a cigar when you run, you're a true aficionado.
Mm. I don't know.
But yeah,
I tend
I
to
have no
I
idea
tend to
about
like
health
the
reasons.
Candelas. I don't know if they're any worse for you than regular cigars. I can see the point with I don't smoke a lot of them just because the percentage of cigars that are in the humidor that shops carry, um, are largely not Candela wrappers. Um, there is, and I'm trying to get them to sell me one. There is a local shop that got a box of, I want to say, Illusion Lancero Candelas.
Oh,
DHL.
the HLs?
The HLs, the Holy Lance. I've smoked that in the Maduro before.
Don't get them,
Uh,
man. Don't get them.
got a whole box in, and they're debating on whether they're going to send them back. I just want to buy one just to try it, just to say that I've smoked it, and review it on the show. Have you guys had that Holy Lance Candela before?
I
Yeah.
have. I
You
would
both
probably go
you
with the
both
88. I'd probably go with the 888 or the 88 above that one.
Yeah, the
yeah.
HL is a complete failure. I mean, from the Maduro, Corojo, and the Candela aspect, if you
Whoa.
ask me, I'm gonna go out there. But
They look so sexy. That Lancero he puts out is very sexy looking.
It's a
I
unique
wasn't a big
cigar.
fan of
There's not a lot of
Maduro.
Candela Lanceros out there.
Yeah,
I
that's why it's very unique. That's why it was kind of like a unicorn that speaks Estonian. Well, maybe not that unique, but it's unique.
a unicorn that speaks Estonian. So
You like that, huh?
I like that. I'm picturing Estonia, Baltic Seas, unicorn speaking Estonian. So I'm really Gabriel.
After the show, I'll tell you where that reference comes from.
Tell it to me, Gabriel. All right, here we go. Coots, two-part question. Coots, any interest in them ever releasing Candela? If so, why? If not, why? Go.
Well, honestly, I don't think so at the moment. I don't see it in any part of the near future, at least. Um, it's too limited of a product to come out into market and to invest the money that we need to get the technology to process that tobacco. I mean, if we get it, I mean, Candela, it's a hit or miss, and it's more of a miss than a hit. And
Yeah,
with that wrapper, and as a business standpoint, I don't think it's wise for us to even think about it right now.
it's a very good answer.
Well,
Yeah.
I think right now Candela smokers are a small
Yeah,
portion.
And I
For
think it's a one. I think it's a one time a year thing. It's becoming where it's this
Yep,
March.
no, I
I'd say
agree.
from March 1st to March 17th. It's the time. And I mean, I don't really smoke much of it outside of that time period.
Yeah, I've had a handful of them, and I don't see myself going back to them.
Yeah,
And there's nothing that I would say. I don't know if I'd have one yet that would say, at a very high rating with us. But there is some good ones. I like the original Viaje White Label project. And one thing I liked about that cigar is it had a very unique. It almost had this little chestnut flavor you got from it, and I thought Viaje. Each of the Candela releases were very different. I thought the 2011, which is the one I was referring to, was the best flavor wise. I thought the 12 had a little more strength, and I thought the 13, which was last year's, was really that dialed back Candela with that grassy herbal note that Paul talked about. I mean, so and that Andre did not. Apparently, he didn't do one this year, and he didn't mention it on the show.
it's
But
interesting that he didn't do one though. The 2012 I think was probably the most beautiful Candela I've ever seen. It had that dark, as you refer to, Coop, Kermit color,
Kermit the
which
Frog Green.
Kermit the Frog green, which is now going to be my new paint color in my bedroom after that one. So I'm going to go to Lowe's with that. But it's just a really dark green. It was beautiful.
Yeah, the interesting thing. So we'll kind of. I want to hit a couple more of our favorite smokes, but I kind of think it's a good segue because we've mentioned these two cigars. There was a controversy in 2011. Do folks remember the Candela controversy that came out?
I remember that.
All right, I think it's worth mentioning. And so I'll caveat this by saying Andre Farkas and Pete Johnson are friends of this show. We both had them on. But there was a little bit of a controversy that kind of developed among them. And what happened was essentially Dion had released his Candela, I guess, end of 2010, early 2011. And around the 2011, Andre came out with the White Label project. And there's actually a very good interview with Pete Johnson on Stogie Review. I'll put in the show notes. But Pete Johnson was very, very vocal on that Candela release by Viaje. And part of his issue was with it was because I guess he felt it was kind of stepping on Dion's toes a bit. They're both coming out of the same factory. What do folks think of that? I mean, what do you guys think of that? I thought they were two different cigars, and there was room on the market for both of them, and I enjoyed them both. But I kind of at the time when that controversy happened, I don't think I learned a lot more about the industry right now, and I kind of understand now certain things in the industry. What do you guys? Was Pete right to kind of call that out, or was he kind of out of line? What do you guys think of that?
I don't think Pete has any authority to speak for Dion or Raíces Cubanas or Viaje. I mean, no offense to Pete or Dion or anything like that. It's not like Dion said, "Hey, I'm the only one going to be releasing a Candela out of this factory." I mean, it's not like he owns the factory. If I recall correctly from the interview, Pete says if that happened at My Father Cigars, I'd probably leave or I'd make a big deal with My Father Cigars. I don't think Pete has the right to say that. So,
and to Dion's credit, he didn't have a problem with it either. He publicly said it, at least.
Yeah, there you go.
But it was interesting, But I've heard of people who use factories though, and sometimes they get to work with a wrapper first, and then they find they're told they can work with it, and then suddenly someone else is in that factory using that same wrapper, and they're saying, "Hey, what the hell?" So I'm not calling anyone out. I thought from a Stogie Geek conversation, it was an interesting debate. It was something I thought was interesting, but I thought the cigars were two different cigars.
Yeah. They're completely different.
Yeah.
And it's one of those. I think Dion looks with his releases with his Candelas to have them be consistent from previous year's Candelas. It's almost as if this is a regular production Candela. While Andre's small batch theory is that this is this year's Candela, and this is this year's Candela, and you can see the variation in there. While Dion is trying to have some consistency with it. So. That's that matter. And I just think it sometimes comes down to manufacturers, even though there's this brotherhood and there's this, they respect one each other. Of course, you're going to find someone that you don't get along with, and you're going to disagree with what they're doing, and boom, there you go.
Save the drama for your mama.
Save the drama for your mom.
Yep. In terms of some folks are in the chat room and they want to kind of rattle off some of their Candelas that they like. Feel free to. But there's a few other ones I really like. I enjoyed the old Camacho one that was out there, which I don't think they're making anymore.
Oh yeah, Camacho Candela.
Yeah, but I'm going to tell you the best Candela I've had, and I didn't put it in the show notes, and I can't believe I didn't. It has to be the Fomorian, which is what Skip Martin did, and honestly, that's a very limited cigar. I think he's bringing it to DC for the tweet up this weekend. But in my opinion, that one is he basically took his Cro-Magnon, he took the broadleaf wrapper off of it, and he put a Candela on it, and it is a flavor bomb. It's really good.
I haven't smoked it, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. I've heard that he did a really good job with that Candela. I'd be interested in smoking it. Isn't that just for the DC tweet up?
It's just for the DC tweet up. I have dispatched someone to try to see if they can secure a box. So yeah. I'm
I hate the band on it. I hate
last year it didn't have one last year. The band was there a band this year?
Yeah, I put the Cro-Magnon band on it, which I just think is, no offense to Skippy, creamy and crunchy, no offense, but it looks terrible.
Well, the only thing I'll say is that band, though, does look, I think, good. I haven't seen it on the Candela, but it does look good on that dark wrapper. And there's a lot of little intricacies. If you look at that band, there's a lot of little intricacies of design on that thing. But you got to really look at it with your eyes.
Yeah, you got to take off the little secondary black band, which is on top of the white band, and then you can see like the cave drawings in the white band. It's very cool.
Yep. But I also mentioned, I mentioned the Alec Bradley Black Market Filthy Hooligan. I like. Paul mentioned the Fuente 858. Great value price for Candela. I mean, you're talking around $5 for that cigar, which I think you just can't go wrong. And I enjoyed. I know it was a 70 ring gauge, and I'm looking forward to the smaller size. It is a 50 ring gauge. They're coming out with but I smoked the 71, which was the Asylum Ogre, which they put that up against their Habano wrapper, and very good cigar. So I mean, those are some Candelas I enjoyed.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest. I've smoked Viajes, I've smoked the Fuentes, I've smoked Dion's. I smoked the Camacho Candela a little while back. Grey Cliff even made a Candela, which is like, why
The
did I?
Emerald.
Yeah, why I spent the amount of money buying the Grey Cliff Emerald, who knows? But I did, and I smoked it, and every time it's like, okay, it's a Candela. It's entertaining. It's not mind blowing. It's something different. But there's a difference between really liking it and just finding a nice difference, which is enjoyable. And I just don't think the cigars are really. I mean, there's a reason that they're not on the market anymore. No one's really interested in them, and I don't think they'll ever come back to the market. Look at where we are.
But you know what's funny? Like my dad, for example, is a cigarette smoker, and he smokes a brand called Carlton, which I don't smoke cigarettes, but I've been told it's like smoking air. It's like the least. The cigar, a Candela is actually a cigar I give him because he can't. Some Ecuadorian Connecticut cigars would turn him green, for lack of a better term. So I mean, I think there's a market, but I think in today's market, it's still a niche market.
Yeah,
I see it as a seasonal thing.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's become and then, Candela will kind of go. Next late February, we'll start seeing some more releases. I'm sure of it.
So yeah, I mean, when does it come up? It comes up in February and March, and then you don't hear anything about it for the rest of the year, and then it comes
Yeah.
back up in February and March. I mean, Rocky Patel made it with the Edge, and
I forgot about the Edge too. Yeah, I forgot about the Edge Candela.
yeah, it's just people smoking green cigars on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. And don't forget, one company's got a core line too. Another one, don't forget, is La Flor Dominicana's Double Claro.
Yeah,
Is that a regular release or is that also in the seasonal? That's one of the I've had.
I believe it's a regular release.
did they keep that? I mean, here you go. Here's a question for LaFleur. They just had all these cuts with their brands. They just cut Coronada in a lot of these brands. And I mean, Coop, you've smoked Coronada. Paul, I think you've smoked it. Gabriel, I don't know. Have you smoked Coronada? Okay, if you cut Coronada, but you keep the Candela, I begin to worry about the water you're drinking because it's like the Coronada is a significantly better cigar than the Candela, and most retailers are going to say that cigar is selling better than the Candela.
Well, if it's a seasonal thing,
Yeah,
it's different. But if it's a regular production cigar, it's. But I don't think so. I haven't seen that cigar, the Double Claro, in a couple of years, which is the last time I had it.
Yeah, I'd have to double check. I mean, I thought it's still out, but I haven't had it for a while. So I remember when it came out, I was very anxious to get it.
Christian's approach with the Candela was very interesting because it's almost like I'm going to give you Candela, but I'm not going to give you full on Candela. And it's one of those things. And he also puts it on this big cigar, the Ogre, which is another. I mean, yeah, you're playing off the Ogre, but it's like I really don't want you to get too much Candela. I mean, you look at these cigars. You're going to make a Candela, or you make a. Let's talk barber poles really quick. Let's let Big Tuna take us off course. When you make a barber pole cigar, you're changing the wrapper. Why are you going to put that on a 60 ring gauge cigar? If I was a manufacturer, I'd want to try and put that on like a 44, 46, 48. That way, as a smoker, you're saying, "Holy crud, I'm getting a lot of Connecticut broadleaf," or "Holy," you're getting that change throughout. And I think that's the way you should do it if you're going to do it, in my opinion.
Well, as a marketing thing, and you look at it and you look at the name of the cigar, it's called an Ogre. So it doesn't really make too much sense to put an Ogre into a small format.
Yeah,
So I mean, I know they are releasing, I think, the smaller ring gauge now because of the demand for it. But I think I did have one of those 60 or 70 Ogres with I think it was a Maduro Candela combination.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that wasn't bad. I mean, the
I thought it
Maduro
was good.
played a bigger role in it than the Candela did, and to me that was probably the most enjoyable Candela cigar I've had. But can you classify it as a Candela? But it did have Candela on it.
Yep.
Good
I
points.
tell you what, that Asylum 13, that 60 ring in general, is actually not a bad cigar. You
Yeah.
know, a lot of people knock that 60 ring. I haven't tried the Ogre, but I want to. Um, because the Asylum, it smokes pretty good in 60 ring. I think it delivered a lot of flavor. I smoked it on the show. You can go watch me smoke the whole thing on the show. I thought it was
I
pretty good.
yeah, I've smoked them too, and I think I think it's a good value cigar they have. So I mean, it's a very good cigar. So I think we're about done for the evening tonight. I just want to update folks on next week and contest. We still have our box worthy contest. Send us, by email your box worthy cigars. We're going to do a segment next week on the show where we'll review some of those. And they're not necessarily your greatest cigars, but cigars that you think are worth getting a box for. And we have that Stogie Santa prize pack of the 5 Ocean State J. Grotto Reserva Lanceros and the La Aurora Cameroon Lancero. So the yeah, so as far as that goes, please get us your feedback on that. Next week, I
Will,
believe we.
hey, Will, yeah, Gabriel wants to
Yep,
put a giveaway out there as well.
Yep, I was just gonna offer Gabriel. Yep, Gabriel's gonna do a little bonus for us here.
Well, I don't know how you guys do your giveaways, but let's throw a box of Lanceros out there.
Okay, so box of Lanceros for a giveaway.
Wait, can I enter this contest? Am I
Paul,
disqualified?
You got one already from me. We gotta come up with a good contest here.
I'll leave it up to you guys. There's a box of Lanceros. Whoever wins it, let me know. I'll ship it out straight to them.
Okay.
Well, why don't we have people send us their top 5 Lanceros they like to smoke?
Yep. I want us to. Yep. Send the top 5 Lanceros. You smoke to the show at stogiegeeks.com. And you'll get a box of those, the Miro Lancero, which I smoked tonight on the show. It's also a review up on Cigar Coop and Says Humidor, and it's really an enjoyable Lancero, and he did a great job with that. So that's a very nice prize pack. Thank you very much, Gabriel.
Thank you.
And I'd say,
Gabriel, thanks for that, and thanks for coming on the show. I'm sorry I wasn't able to attend the first segment, but I'm gonna definitely go back and watch it. So thank you.
No, thank you guys for having me on here, man. I've had a blast.
Yeah, Gabriel, like I said, you're a friend of the show, and love to have you back later in the year, and we'll kind of catch up on all things Coots.
Yeah, let's do something after the IPCPR once we release the other cigars, and we'll talk about them more in depth.
Yep, appreciate it, my friend, and hopefully I'll catch up with you.
Now, Will, do I have some of Gabriel's cigars like in my locker at home?
Yes.
Tagged for the show? Okay, I haven't smoked them yet because they were tagged for the show and I didn't realize I was traveling.
Yeah.
And I didn't bring them with me. So when I get back, I will smoke your cigars, Gabriel.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul.
Yep. No, I think you guys will like. I think you all like it. So I kind of, like I said, we kind of had. Paul, contrary to popular opinion, I did not take the show over, and there was not a mutiny either. So.
Well, you know what's interesting, Will, is if you sent up 3 of them, right? Those other 2 guys don't even know that they're there. So if I smoke one and I really like it, those other 2 just, I don't know, they may end up in my collection. That's all I'm saying.
I'll gladly send you guys some more.
Excellent. Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Thanks, Gabriel.
All right. And that does it for episode 88 on Stogie Geeks. Next week, we have Espinosa Cigars as our special guest, so be sure to tune in 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Thanks, everyone.
That's got to be fun.
Yep.
I will be back in studio. I will be back in time for that one. So.
Yep, and then I'll be up in the studio April 3rd. So.
That's right.
And on Rhode Island.
That's a wrap.